Hi everybody, I'm here today to talk to you about one of the most negative and discouraging things of about being a teenager, and that is the feeling of I hate myself. Right? I hate myself is a feeling that you get probably when you're about 12 or 13 it starts, and for me anyway, it continues on for somebody who's fairly, if you like, average and doesn't have any major problems. It probably lasts for about 2 or 3 years, probably fading away by the time they're 15. For some people who have a few issues and problems, maybe they have emotional problems or mental problems, it will continue until they're at least 18. And of course for some people it just never goes away, and it causes a major problem. What's the reason for it? Okay, in this video I'm going to be teaching you about how to make the first step to getting out of I hate myself. And it's actually very simple, but it's quite profound. And what I want to teach you today is how this began and how you can at least make the first step to getting out. Now, I hate myself is something that happens for a range of reasons. Normally in your life, when you were a kid, up until the age of 6, okay, you, from the age of like 0 to 2, you were mainly dealing with eating and drinking and sleeping and learning to walk and talk. Having got that far, by the age of 2 until the age of 6, stuff happened. Now, it could have been good stuff, or it could have been bad stuff. Right? For me, it was bad stuff. Right? But from the age from 2 to 6 is an important age for your life, because from the age of 2 years old to the age of 6 years old, your mind is completely open. Right? And in that time, if stuff happens to you, then it will have a major and profound effect on you. According to one of the most famous psychologists, in fact the father of psychology, which is Sigmund Freud. Okay? It starts with, from the age of 2 to the age of 6, there is a period when your mind is really open and accepts everything. And what you learn from 2 to 6 will stay with you for a long time. But then, when you're 6 years old, you start school, you meet new friends, and things develop on. And so from about the age of 6 to the age of about 10 or 11, right, what happens is you get this quite happy time when you don't get affected so much by things, and you're spending your time hanging out with your friends and doing this and going there, and getting involved in activities at school and stuff like that. And it's actually quite a good time, right? Normally anyway. And then, but the stuff starts happening when you're about 10 years old. When you're about 10, people start changing, right? And what happens is that first the girls and then later the boys start to develop because of puberty and start changing from a boy into a man, or from a girl into a woman. And basically what happens is that sexuality starts to arrive, as a force in your life. And what that means is that people around you no longer look at each other as completely friends, if you know what I mean, in the way you did when you were like 6 or 7 or 8 years old. Yeah. And then people start looking at you as possible romantic partners, right? Where, for instance, if you hang out with some girls, right, you might hang out with them for a long time, from the age of like 6, 7, 8, 9, and then suddenly around about 10 or 11, what will happen is that girls will start to size you up size up a boy, for instance, as being a possible romantic partner, like boyfriend in the future or whatever. So people start changing their attitudes, and what happens is that people start behaving in ways that might necessarily be popular to the opposite sex or whatever. Right? So people start doing this, and then that introduces some conditions into your life where previously there were no conditions to being friends. Like when I was a kid, I can remember walking up to somebody, male or female, and with a bag of candy, and just say, "Here, do you want a sweet?" And then they take it and eat it, and then we'd be friends forever. After that, that's it. That's how you make friends when you're like 6 or 7 years old. But then suddenly that doesn't work out when you're about 10 or 11, and then people start changing their ways, and they start looking at each other as thinking, and they start basically introducing conditions, trying to look cool, trying to beat each other, and trying to sort of like get better than the other one, and trying to create an image and all this kind of stuff. And that's when I hate myself starts to bring in, because many people don't live up to the expectations of their friends. And the reason for that is simply because you are not your friends, you are you. Right? So you start judging yourself by what your friends think, instead of judging yourself as being a person where you don't even have to worry about it. Right? Now suddenly you are starting to look at yourself and compare yourself with your friends and see who's, like, what's going on, what's normal, who's developing faster, who's changing this, who's behaving like this or that, whatever. And often you might think to yourself, well, I'm not as good as them. So this starts to introduce the idea that you need to keep up, or you need to prove yourself in order to maintain your friendship that you had before. Okay? Whereas before your friendship was like completely, it doesn't matter what you do. Now suddenly you have to be good at this, or you might have to be socially, have a social skill that's really nice, or you might have to be popular with people. So popularity starts coming in, all this jazz. And this builds up and builds up and builds up. When you get to grade 6, you start high school, so there's a new change of school. Then people start developing, their bodies into like more masculine or more feminine bodies, and becoming more like a woman or more like a man. So then there's all this kind of stuff. And so in this time, that's when things start moving on. But things really hit the fan, right, when you get to the age of 13, because that's when you're no longer a kid as such, you're now a teenager. So 13 is the big year when I hate myself is the most heavy, the strongest, and the one where you most need your friends, right? And that's the main thing about it, is that the reason why 13 is the big bad number which makes I hate myself so strong, is because that is the age when you most need your friends, okay, and their acceptance. So you are from feeling that you were accepted before, you are now bringing yourself up to this level, right, where you have to stick around with your friends and be popular with them. But also your parents are changing their attitude. Before you could do whatever you wanted. Now your parents are talking about exams and doing this and doing that and changing this. And they say to you, oh, you're too old for that now, for doing something. Or you're too young for this, or for doing something else. And it's like, what's going on? I'm too old for this and too young for that. So what am I supposed to do? So you get a little bit annoyed. Plus also you're developing and you don't know how to behave properly in terms of like, what's the correct thing to do in this or that social situation. So you just get piles and piles and piles and piles of like all these stupid things start happening, and you end up sort of hating yourself. And this is a very dark, horrible, and sinister feeling. All right, that when I hated myself as a teenager, I always felt it at the bottom of my stomach, at the bottom of my tummy. And it was always this ongoing, dark, heavy feeling. And I was like, when is it going to end? So it went on and it went on and it went on and it went on from 13 to 14 to 15. But then suddenly when I was about 15, it started to ease up. Right? And then when I was 16, it was the first time as a teenager I started to have some quite good fun. So from 13 to 16, I had like 3 years of those. 15 wasn't too bad. 15 was half and half. It was half good, half bad. But 16 was like when things really started flowing, and life became quite fun. But before that, things were pretty rough. And when I was about 17, I still had the feeling, but it was small. But I was absolutely sick of it. I can't be bothered with I hate myself anymore. And actually, I started hating I hate myself, right? Because I hate myself is a horrible, nasty feeling, and I hated it so much. And then I suddenly realized, that's the answer. So, today, I'm going to give you the first step to getting out of I hate myself, okay? And it is the first step out. But you have to notice that, because many people think that it's actually a step worse, but it isn't. It's a step better. But you need to make sure that you notice that. Like, so what happens is you keep hating yourself for a long time, and eventually you get to a point where you hate hating yourself. Do you understand what I mean? So you hate hating yourself, and you start to hate hating yourself. You think, I can't stand the way I hate myself all the time. It's terrible, right? So you keep doing that, and the more you hate hating yourself, the more I hate myself becomes more and more despicable, if you know what I mean. And finally, you get to a point where the amount that you hate yourself, right, is lower than the amount that you hate hating yourself. Does that make sense? All right. So you hate yourself this much, and you hate hating yourself this much. But slowly, what happens is that this hate of hating yourself gets stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger. And one day, it gets higher, right, than I hate myself. So I hate myself stays roughly the same the whole time, right? Whereas hate hating yourself actually gets more and stronger all the time, until a point is reached where you hate hating yourself more than you hate yourself. Okay? That is the first step to getting out. It is the first step to loving yourself. Okay? When you hate hating yourself more than you hate yourself, that's good news, not bad news. It's not worse. To hate hating yourself is not worse than hating yourself. It's better, right? Because that is the beginning of the way out. When you realize that you hate hating yourself, right, more than you hate yourself, well, that means yourself is better than your hatred. So that means you must be better than the way you feel. You must be a better person. That means you actually like yourself more than hating your hatred. Right? You hate yourself less than you hate your hatred. So that's the way out. That's the beginning. That's the part, right, that starts everything. That's the beginning of the fight back, right, against I hate myself. Okay? So that's it. That's all I want to say. Right? That might not sound very much to you, but it's really important. That was the beginning of my journey from I hate myself to I love myself. You can't go from I hate myself to I love myself overnight. Neither did I. It took me 20 years or 25 years or whatever, but it's definitely not going to be happening anytime soon. Right? But what will happen is, if you can get to that point where you hate hating yourself more than you hate yourself, that means yourself is better. That means you like yourself more than your hatred. You think your hatred is here, and yourself is here, right? You think this person you are is better than the hatred. Okay? So that's the beginning. That's when you suddenly think, well, I can't be that bad then. You know? So that's the beginning of the way out, right? Get to that point first, and then we'll talk more. Okay, so that's it, okay? That's the first step to getting out of I hate myself and moving towards I love myself. Alright, so this is it. This has been Oliver Chapman for OLLY'S Personal Development. Have a great day.